let us see the bank specific aspects. In this centenary year, I feel that we paid a befitting tribute to our organization by marked overall improvement in top line, bottom line, asset quality, branch expansion, and capital comfort. As far as the top line growth is concerned, we had a decent financial year closing in terms of overall business numbers. Where the banking industry as a whole clocked a growth of approximately 12% in deposits and 6% in advances, we could register an overall year-on-year business growth of 24%, where deposits grew by 21% and advances by 27%. Current deposits have crossed 1,000 crores mark, growing at 61% year-on-year. Savings deposits have grown by 1,100 crores or by 29% year-on-year. Our overall CASA has grown by 33% and mix has improved to 32% from 29% year-on-year. Total deposits have grown by 3,350 crores, that's by 21%. Net advances have grown by 3,072 crores by 27%. Gold loans have grown by 2,331 crores, that is 61.35% year-on-year. 76% of advances growth is contributed by growth in gold loans. Agri and MFI vertical business crossed 500 crores during the current year. Two-wheeler business grew by 120% to reach almost 200 crores of a book size. Priority sector advances have surged by 45%. Non-fund business grew by approximately 80%. Total business has grown by 6,421 crores, that is 24% year-on-year. Thus, in the centenary year, the bank has grown a fourth of the total business it grew in 99 years. CRISIL reaffirmed the highest rating on short-term deposits and CDs. CD issuance and refinance availment helped us to reduce the overall cost of funds. On quarter-on-quarter basis, total deposits grew by 8% and advances by 10%. CASA ratio improved from 30.38 as on 31/12/2020 to 32.19. That's an improvement of 1.81%. Now coming to bottom line, I take pride in announcing that we crossed the double century mark in terms of net profit for the current year, the net profit being 218 crores for the current year, which is supported by improved net interest income, treasury profits, and other income. This could be achieved despite the increase in OPEX on account of AS 15 provisions, BRS, etc., change in the depreciation policy, and opening of 101 branches. The practice of accelerated NPA provisioning and standard asset provisioning on account of COVID was maintained during the Q4 as well. Net interest income has grown by 349 crores or by 59%, contributed by reduction in cost of deposits, increase in yield on advances and investments, and increase in business volumes. NIM for the year ended improved from 3.74% 4.81%, that is by 107 basis points. Treasury profits has improved substantially over previous year to 125 crores as bank make full use of the yield swings to its advantage, apart from making substantial investments in non-SLR securities at attractive rates, availing LTRO on TLTRO. Non-treasury other income grew by 84 crores or by 44%, contributed by increase in processing fees, PSLC commission, bank assurance commission, and BG commission. There was an increase in headcount by 976, and this together with increase in AS 15 provisions has caused the staff cost to increase by 50% or rupees 165 crores. Pension cost component of AS 15 expenses increased by 79 crores as there were large-scale retirement and BRS totaling to 193. And change in assumptions by actuary as to mortality. The impact is about 39 crores. Now, defined benefit pension opportunities account for only 14% of the workforce down from 24% in the previous year. To be exact in number, which used to be about 1,700, has come down to 579 at the year end. Other OpEx has increased by 29 crores or by 15% as the bank increased its footprint by 101 more branches. Depreciation expenses has increased by 12 crores, mainly on account of change in assumptions as to useful life of some fixed assets category. Operating profit increased by 333 crores, it is by 119%, as increase in income far outweighed the increase in expenses. Our cost income ratio is at 54.31% as against 65.53% as on 31/3/2020. NPA provisions increased by rupees 60 crores due mainly to migration of accounts to higher provision categories and accelerated provisioning over and above RBI guidelines. Standard asset provisions have increased by 110 crores as the bank is holding provisions of around 25% on its trust assets starting from one-day default. We are also providing 25% on all the restructured accounts as against the requirement of only 5%. Overall, net profit increased from 12.7 crores to 218.4 crores. That is by a whopping 1,616%. The excess provisions held over and above RBI policy prescriptions amounts to rupees 250 crores as on date. On a quarterly basis, our net interest income improved by 10% and other income improved by 90% with the nominal treasury profit. Now, let us look at the asset quality. We had reported pro forma NPA of 210 crores as on 31/12/2020. The pro forma NPAs have also been appropriately classified as per RBI guidelines issued following the final judgment of Supreme Court. However, we could contain the total gross additions including the Q4 slippages to 188 crores. Total recoveries in the return of accounts amounts to rupees 75 crores. As you know, we had, as a prudential measure, decided to accelerate the provisions for NPA. During the current financial year, the bank had further increased the NPA provisioning rate considering the prevailing uncertainties. The amount of provision for NPA, including technical write-off created by the bank in excess of the RBI provisioning requirement, is rupees 155.86 crores as on March 31/2021. The COVID-related standard asset provisions in excess of RBI requirements amount to rupees 89 crores. As mentioned earlier, we are maintaining a conservative provision of 25% on the entire SMA portfolio, including one-day default. Bank's overall collection efficiency stands at an average of till April. Gross NPA decreased year-on-year by 16 crores or by 4%. Gross NPA percentage decreased by 86 basis points to 2.68. Net NPA decreased by 48 crores or by 22%, while net NPA percentage fell by 74 basis points to 1.17. PCR has improved to 85% from 80%. Ex technical write-off, it has improved from 47 to 57%. Capital adequacy. The capital position of the bank continued to be strong as on 31st March 2021. Despite significant growth in credit, CRAR could be maintained above 20%. It is 21.37% to be precise, thanks to the plowback of profits and increased standard asset provisions. Leverage ratio also is maintained above 8%. Despite significant balance sheet growth, thanks to accreditation in Tier 1 capital due to plowing back of profits. Branch expansion. Despite the challenges posed by the pandemic, we could achieve a historic milestone of opening 101 branches in this 101st year of bank's existence. Out of these 101 branches, only 9 branches were opened in the home state and 92 branches were opened outside Kerala, predominantly Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Karnataka, Maharashtra, and northern parts of the country. almost 65 branches were opened towards the end of the financial year. The branches were opened in locations with good CASA, gold, agri, MSME potential. We will be able to fully tap the potential of these locations in the current financial year. In the financial year 22, we have plans to open 200 more branches on a pan-India basis. Our intention is to front-load the opening of these new branches to get maximum business during the current year by managing the COVID-related lockdowns and restrictions, which are posing some challenges in this direction. Now, coming to the digital push, as rightly said, in the midst of every crisis lies an opportunity. Considering the pandemic condition, moving the customers to alternate channel was the best option available to the banks. The pronounced digital push yielded good results, and the digital transactions reached almost 78% of the total transaction numbers. We also launched WhatsApp banking during the year. The introduction of online account opening portal could enhance the customer convenience and customer experience and resulted in better account opening. We are continuously working on improving the channel activations, which are beneficial to the customer as well as the bank on account of reduced transaction costs. We'll stop at this and take some questions. I hope all of you got the INNOSTA presentation. I'll take the questions. My colleagues are also there to support me. Thank you, Praveen. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question and answer session. If you have a question, please press star and 1 on your telephone keypad and wait for your turn to ask the question. If you would like to withdraw your request, you may do so by pressing star and 1 again. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a question, please press star and 1 on your telephone keypad. First question comes from Mona Khetan from Dolat Capital. Please go ahead. Mona Khetan, please go ahead with your question.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, hi sir. Good evening. So firstly, just wanted to check on growth. So when I look at your segmental growth, I see about 14% sequential growth in corporate advances. So if you could just throw some light as to where that has come from. And
corporate advance is not our focus area. It is only the parking of funds. Okay. So most of the corporate advances are given with a 6 months call and put option. So most of them were given originally to NBFCs with a AA and AAA rating. But due to the surge in liquidity and the reduction in the market-related borrowing, most of the NBFCs have started closing, and we have seen some negative growth in the wholesale banking. The new accounts are also identified with a decent rating and mostly from the manufacturing segment. These are all the manufacturing industries with good potential, which is improved during the COVID period, and they seems to be COVID-proof. That kind of industries only we have taken up. For example, we have invested a bit in auto ancillaries, okay, and some in the food processing, dairy, textiles, spinning. These are all the areas where we have invested our money.
okay. And what would be the average ticket size and the yields in the incremental loans that we are giving out in these segments?
Normally, it is about 25 crores, may go up to 100 crores at the entry level, and yield should be around 9.5% average. Of course, contractors are also one more major segment, where non-fund based limits are given in the large scale.
Okay. So the growth that has come about in this quarter is not from the well-rated NBFCs or SFCs that we were doing previously for getting the corporate growth. Is that the right understanding?
They are not AAA rated. Originally, when we were not having capital, we were constrained in lending to others. So we have chosen the AAA rated corporates at a much lower level. Today, AAA rated corporates are borrowing at a 4.5% to 5%. That is not the rate to lend. So naturally, we have moved to the acceptable risk. We are given the risk I mean rating-wise allocation, 52% of our corporates are A and above rated, and almost 30%, 32% is rated up to investment grade. So 89% of the portfolio is on investment grade and above.
Sure. And what explains the sequential rise in your lending yields? It's up by about 30 bits Q and Q, despite the fact that incrementally growth, a lot of growth has also come from the corporate book, which is at much lower yields than the gold book. So
mainly the growth has come from the gold loan. Gold loans are done at a better level than the remaining portfolio. So naturally it has a pulling effect on the yield. The proportion of gold loan is more, our yield will move up. And as the proportion gold loans goes down, naturally our yield will also pull down.
okay, so could it be the lagged impact? Because at least this quarter we are not seeing, we are seeing a higher growth from corporate book versus the gold book. But
on
it be the lagged impact?
On a yearly basis, if you look at it, it's a 61% year on year. Okay.
Okay.
So the last quarter per se growth is not very big, but the impact comes with a lag effect, right? The interest income comes with a lag effect.
Sure.
So naturally, gold is the main reason for us increasing. And apart from that, we have made in the TLTRO, we have availed a substantial amount and invested in the corporate bonds. Okay, that also has helped us to pull the yield on the treasury side.
Okay, got it. And the slippages of 188 crore that we have reported, that is the net of recoveries, right? Where we had slippages in previous quarter from the gold book and so on.
No, recoveries are accounted separately, right? So every time you take the NPAs and make a provision, NPAs as on 31st March and make a provision as per the standard table, the table which I have given. Recovery is accounted separately, right? The numbers are available. How 75 crores we have recovered from the written off accounts. Substantial amount we have recovered on the NPA principal amount, if I remember correct, around 65 crores or so. And substantial amount of interest is also collected from the NPA accounts. That is one reason for the yield going up. The NPA recovery includes the interest recovery, which is not accounted earlier. Now it is a recovery that also adds to the interest income and helps us to show a better yield on advances.
Okay. So the reason I was checking this is because if you look at your pro forma slippages of Q3, it was about 210 crore if I'm correct. And if I just add the slippages of this quarter and the non-pro forma slippages of previous quarters, it adds up to about 2,000 crore. So essentially, that way it will be negative in this quarter, if I'm correct, right?
I don't know where from you are getting the 2,000 number. My portfolio itself is only 14,000 crores. That may be wrong. See,
sorry. I was mentioning 200 basically.
Okay, probably. See, the pro forma NPAs of December consists of 125 crores of gold loans. Okay. The gold loan NPA in the March has come down to 44 crores. That itself has reduced the NPA by 80 crores. Okay. Apart from that, there are upgradations and recoveries in other accounts also, pro forma accounts. So the overall NPA has come down substantially from the December level to March level. In spite of that, whatever provision we have created for the COVID provision which we have created and pro forma invoice we have created, we have carved out the provision requirement from that provision, but we have not reversed the excess provision. We could have reversed about 23 crores of provision if you go by the same formula adopted by the December end. Whereas we have not reversed the excess provision. We have retained the 23 crores provision in the system as a cushion for the COVID related issues coming through the second wave.
Okay. And just one last data keeping question. So I think I missed your opening remarks. What was the SME book that you mentioned?
SME is less than 400 crores, could be around 385 crores if I remember correct. On which we have provided 25% again.
And this includes 385 is for the entire book.
Come again?
And not the reported SME.
No, all the accounts except the gold loans in the SME we are not provided for. All other NPA by stress accounts in other portfolio, which amounts about 385 crores, we provided 25%.
Okay. So this is special mention accounts, right?
Yeah, special mention accounts, which means even a 1 day default. SMA 0 is only 0 to 30 days. That also we provided 25% this time.
Okay. I'll come back in queue. Thank you so much.
Fine, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a question, please press star and 1 on your telephone keypad. And participants are kindly requested to restrict with 2 questions in the initial round and may join the queue for further questions. Next question comes from Haresh Kapoor from India Infoline. Please go ahead.
Okay, I'm audible. Hello.
Yeah. You have to raise your voice.
Yes, sir.
Hmm.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir. So just couple of things. One is, in terms of near-term outlook, just want to get your sense on that. So obviously a lot of work happening on new products that you want to introduce. Maybe that gets pushed a little bit because of COVID too. And also in terms of, Kerala, I think they're talking about not really pressing towards recovery of loan accounts, etc., even from, I think, the CM there. So just want to get your sense, how do you look at, asset quality behavior in the near term, and how do you look at the portfolio build-up for this quarter or maybe a couple of quarters now?
So the year 2020-21, all the 12 months we had this corona problem, right? It started in the March last year and it went through that process. And there were lockdowns on a large scale. There were sensitivities around the election. So politicians were not supporting the recovery efforts. And courts were not functioning. And in spite of all these things, only we have recovered more than 185 crores during the last year. So considering our portfolio, it is very substantial money. So the challenges will continue during the current year. Of course, governments will also give this kind of directions. But I'm confident that we will be in a position to maintain the same spirit and recover. We don't go for a forceful recovery in any case. We don't have recovery agents through whom we recover. It's all only persuasion from our own side. We just talk to them, educate the customer about the need for paying the loan in time to maintain a credit history, and also support the customer whenever they need. If they need additional working capital, additional support, we are always supported the customer. So our relationship with the borrower is so good, and I don't anticipate much of problems during the current year. Of course, the realization of the assets when we are selling in the COVID situation is much less than what we might have got otherwise. Okay, that challenge is that we are willing to compromise. So realizable value has been brought down. We have taken the latest valuation and gone ahead with the sales of properties also.
Sure, sir. And the growth, near-term growth, how are you looking at that for H1 now? Is there any thoughts around that?
Growth is a challenge, of course, okay, because the complete movements are restricted. So, but that is what was there last year also. I hope it should not constrain us to a large extent. When others are not keeping the offices open, NBFCs are not open their offices. So in a way, that's an opportunity for the banks which are keeping the offices open today. Okay, even if it is alternative dates, fine. Last time our gold loan growth was so good because NBFCs were not there in the field at all. Once a customer comes out of NBFC and comes to a bank, he will not go back to NBFC because value proposition in a bank is better. The rates are very low. So whatever we gain during that period, we will be retaining. And probably this pandemic will also help us to acquire more new clients from the higher interest segment. Okay, that should be good for us. It's a good value proposition for the borrower. It's a win-win situation.
Yes, sir. And just one thing, just want to reconfirm the SMA number that you're giving out. That also includes retail, or that is just above 5 crores? And COVID
SMA number includes everything except the gold. Gold is not included in SMA. Okay.
Sure. So even retail accounts are basically part of it.
Yeah, all other accounts except gold, everything else is included in the SMA number of 385.
And the buffer that we have is just 23 crores that we're carrying into next year. That's the excess buffer that we have.
That's right.
Sure.
In total,
Sure,
extra provision over and above the regulatory requirement is about 250 crores. Okay. Because of our accelerated provisioning policy, we have more than 120 crores of excess provision. And because of the COVID provisioning policy which we created in December, we have more than 80 crores. And others also, there's an explanation in the presentation. We are holding 250 crores over and above the regulatory requirements as on date.
Sure, sir. Thanks a lot, sir. This is it from my end. Best of luck. Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next question comes from Susmit Patodia from Motilal Oswal. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Good evening. Hope everyone at CSB is safe and healthy. Sir, wanted to firstly understand, how has this crisis been on employees? Have you had any big challenges? What is the bank doing in terms of effort towards employees? Just wanted to get your perspective.
Substantial number of employees are in Kerala because branch network is 52% is there.
Correct.
So Kerala managed the COVID one very well. Not
Correct.
much of losses were there. So naturally, we have not heard any bad stories during the last round. During the current year, we have lost 2 employees. One in Kerala, who is about 59 years old, got into ICU and he could not come back. And there is another young girl in Delhi, 34 years old marketing officer. These are the two deaths we have seen. We are taking all possible steps to support the people. Kerala, that is not a challenge because we have a lot of medical institutions with the banking relationships are there via extension counters. So we can get the hospital beds and other things. That is not a challenge in Kerala. Even otherwise Kerala, for a common public also, the hospitalization is not a challenge. But outside Kerala, we have limited reach to provide these services, but we provide all kind of support. We have group insurance, we have group medical insurance. And in some areas, we have provided much more than what is eligible under the insurance also. We provide all necessary support to the staff, both monetarily as well as emotionally, to work on this problem. And those who opted for leave during this period, subject to people being available, we have also permitted them to be on leave. And we have asked only 50% of the people to come to the office. And most of the administrative people are allowed to work from home. So reasonably, we have managed well so far.
Yes. And sir, the second question was, last time you had the call, we had a lot of background noise. So if you can give us an update on that, how has that effort gone?
Certainly no more noise. That is the only day on which after 3 years. Now it seems to be silent. Okay.
Yes.
That is okay. See, when the industry level settlement was there, when the people have not got it, naturally they got agitated. But we had 2-3 rounds of conversation with them and told them why we are not able to offer it. See, if you go through the entire presentation, only area, if you compare with the peer banks, where we are weak is on the productivity, even now.
Correct.
But all the good results. My productivity is hardly 60% of our industry level productivity. So unless the productivity increases to the industry level, I don't want them to come to the most efficient bank's productivity level. Average industry level productivity, when they reach, we will think about a wage revision. That is what we told them. But anyway, the IBA employees today are minuscule percentage. They are hardly 24% or something like that. So the other non-IBA employees on a very large scale. So even if there is an agitation, it doesn't affect us much. But certainly, we would like to address the concern of all the employees and hope that a better industry climate will prevail going forward.
Right. And my third question, sir, is if you can just explain this a little bit more, so this change in extra provision of due to change in the mortality table.
Mortality rate, okay. See, there was actually who was giving us these valuations over the years. Okay, we don't know about this mortality table, what's the mortality table he adopts and all. He has adopted a previous table and he has given a valuation all along, for which we already provided. On a comparative basis, when I came in, I just compared the provision held per employee by this bank with other banks. So I was happy about it because our provisions was comparatively much larger than any other bank's provision per employee. I thought it's fine. Now, the previous person passed away during this period. He has given the valuation for the current year. Subsequently, he passed away. So then we shifted to a different actuary. The different actuary said that I would like to go by the latest mortality table. He said, we have no problem. Whatever assumption you are making, that is your job. Whatever actual valuation you are giving, we will provide for it. So this is on the higher side by 38 crores. We accepted that and we are provided for it.
And sir, what will be the increase in recurring? Because or this
No,
is
this is
just
only
a
one time, Now that
Right.
we adopted this next table, 2014-15 table we adopted. So we
Correct.
updated ourselves.
Okay.
There won't be any further increase. Right.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I'll get back in the queue. Thank you, sir.
See, there are only 579 employees on this defined pension as on date. There were 1,800 employees, 1,200 have already retired. Out of these 579, I think 25 people are retiring during this month itself, and 200 people are retiring in the next 2 or 3 years. So what will be left out will be hardly about 300 plus employees over a period of next 20 years. So pension is not going to be a major challenge for this bank, except that we have to provide for the DA portion of the employees, but everybody is doing it in the current expenditure. Otherwise, I don't think pension will continue to be a problem for the years to come. For these 589 employees, we have more than 275 crores or something as a provision, which is again on the higher side when compared to the peers.
Okay. Got it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next question comes from Digant Haria from Green Edge Wealth Services. Please go ahead.
Questions from my side. One is that, see, now that the LTVs for gold loans will revert back to the 75%. Like last 12 months, we had the special dispensation of 90%. Will that have any bearing on the growth that we can do in the next 12 months in the gold loan segment? That's my question number one. And question number two, sir, is that we had a bit of gold price volatility in the last 4 months. So how did the bank deal with the customers in terms of whether there were any auctions or whether we had to call for margins or we could very smoothly sail through because we never gave such high LTVs? And then and did we reduce our LTVs this quarter because of this gold price volatility? So yeah, sir, these two questions. Any insight on these would be appreciated. Thank you.
The higher LTV was permitted only up to 31st March. As RBI has not extended the scheme, it has come to an end for all of us. So we have gone back to the original way. Now it's only 68% which we are giving at the maximum. Okay. Normally it is 63%. So at the peak it has gone up to 83% LTV. Okay. Now, as on yesterday, it has come to 77.8%. Okay. At the portfolio level, loan to asset value even today is only 77.8%. Fortunately for us, gold prices have also started moving up. Okay, again it has come back to near to the peak now. So I don't think there could be big losses, but we were monitoring the mark to market for these gold loans, and it was 1.14 crores for the portfolio of 6,000 crores during the last week. I'm confident subsequently the prices have moved up a lot, and the mark to market losses should be nil as on date. At individual account level, there could be some accounts where the loan to asset value might have exceeded 90% or even 100%. Okay. And we have given auction notices to all these people, and most of them, when auction notice is given, 90% of the loans will be redeemed. Only 10% of the people will allow the jewel to go in the auction. Normally, we are very sentimental about this gold selling. So there are a lot of sentiments attached to the gold jewelry. Once you sell it in an auction, people won't come back to you. So we give enough time to the people. Our past experience shows 2014-15 also, we never lost anything worthwhile. Maybe 70 lakhs of rupees or something was the loss which I have seen. That also being recovered. Slowly the recovery is coming in that also. At the time portfolio was 3,000 crores. So it won't cause any major impact on the gold loan portfolio. We have larger provisions for the gold loan whatever be the NPAs. 44 crores was the NPA in March 31st. So that we have provided for it 25%. Out of the 44 crores, at least 10 crores may have been closed by this time. Remaining auctions are going to happen during the current week. So you must be seeing in the newspaper a lot of auction notices are coming up. So this problem is there for all the banks, financial institutions, and the NBFCs. But as the gold prices have recovered, nobody will incur any worthwhile losses. Most of them will be in a position to recover the money.
Right. Sir. Thanks, sir. So just the auction number, sorry, I could not, was it 44 crores or it has happened or it will
44
happen?
crores was the NPA on 31st March.
Okay, sir. Sir, and in gold loan, one just follow up that in gold loans, generally higher LTVs, you can charge higher yields on loans if you give higher LTVs. So now if the LTVs come down, do we foresee any change in the product yield as for gold loan as a whole? Because this 6,000 crores of gold loan portfolio will also reprice over the next 12 months at a much lower LTV than last year. So will the yields change for us, to a little lower level?
Till April end, we have not linked the LTV to the rate. Okay. Only in May first week, we introduced the concept of linking LTV to the rate. So it won't have any impact on the yield which we are having, because when we give a higher LTV, the yield will be much more than what we were charging in the past, because we understood the risk now. That should have a positive impact on the yield, not a negative impact.
Okay, sir. So thank you so much for this clear answer. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next question comes from Manav Vijay from Deep Financial Consultant. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, sir, for the opportunity. Am I audible, first of all?
Yeah, you are audible.
So, sir, my first question is regarding the VRS policy that you had mentioned in quarter 3 call. So you had mentioned that you have offered that option to the employees, and it's going to be roughly 80 crore hit that we should expect in quarter 4. So now you just mentioned that you had couple of rounds with the employees. So is that option is now off the table? That means those employees will stay with the bank, and as and when their retirement comes or they decide to leave, so that natural attrition will continue?
We have not made any specific provision for it in the last quarter. We just estimated 80 crores for 232 people who are eligible for it. But hardly 34 people have opted for that VRS, out of which 33 were given the VRS. So that doesn't cost us much. The additional discretionary payment which we paid was about 2 crore 8 lakhs or something like that, which is accounted in the profit and loss account. It was available only up to February last year, and it was finalized in the February, and March payout has happened. And the entire otherwise, because of the gratuity payout, PF payout, and the buying of annuities, everything is completed in March. So there won't be any additional impact on it. Of course, their salaries will be saved for the future. That is the only advantage. So otherwise, it never had any impact on the profit and loss account.
Sure. My second question would be, sir, so after adding almost 100 branches last year, now you intend to add roughly 200 branches in this year. And you also mentioned that you want to front load them so that you can have the benefit for the rest of the year. So out of those total 200 branches, how many you intend to have as pure gold branches? Or again, it will be a mix of products from those branches?
No, there is no specific gold branches. When we open the branches, we take into consideration various factors. There are clusters which are very familiar for MSME clusters, SME clusters, and there are particular clusters where gold loan is doing best. All this data is available in the public domain. So we have opened the branches where CASA is the focus, where SME is the focus, where MSME is the focus. And many branches are having focus on the gold loan also. Almost 70%, I can say on a ballpark number, maybe 70% of the branches have come up in the gold loan potential area. It doesn't mean only gold loan they will do. They will do MSME, SME, everything in that area. But gold loan will be picking up much faster. Gold loan doesn't take time to build up, right? There are branches which have reached 10 crores of a gold loan business within 2 months when we open at the right location. So gold loan can happen immediately. Other businesses takes time to build up, right? CASA will ramp up over a period. MSME, SME will ramp up over a period because they're all small in ticket size. But gold loan can happen faster. So there is no specific gold loan branch. Every branch is a full service branch. There could be, to start with, to make the branches viable, we are given within a year's time, most of the branches should become break even. Only in metro areas, they should break even within 18 months. That is a timeline. So accordingly, they focus on the gold loan, the initial stages to break even. Then simultaneously, they build the other businesses also.
Sure. So my next question would be, so on a, as of now, we have a current branches of 514. On top of that, we are adding roughly 200 branches, which is almost a 40% addition. So now, so how does that impact our cost to income ratio, let's say for FY22? So first of all, would you be adding employees in the same, let's say to the same extent, or let's say in those new branches, employees would be lower because you will have a let's say higher digital usage?
Sure. See, the new employees are coming at a much lower rate. We don't recruit at the IBA scales now. IBA scale recruitment is stopped 5 years back. So new employees are coming at market-related salaries, just like any other private sector bank. Most of them are sales force, where the payout is much lesser. Of course, over a period, they get incentives and they go up faster in the career. They will be making more money, but by the time they might have become much more productive. So we recruit the people mostly from the market. There may be 1 or 2 people going from the existing legacy staff. Legacy staff are only 1,400 today. So 1 or 2 legacy staff may go there to establish the systems, vagera. Otherwise, right from the branch manager to the sales staff, everybody is recruited from the market, either from the other private sector banks or from the NBFCs or from other consumer-related industries. So the cost from the staff cost is not much higher. And capex also we have brought down very substantially. One strategy adopted by us is the public sector banks which have gone into a merger mode have closed down multiple branches in the same location. Some of them are really good, well furnished. We have just taken up the premises along with the infrastructure, paid the book value, and started functioning within a week's time, where the capex is very low. The strong room is available, the safe deposit vaults were available, the furniture was available, security systems were available, generator was available. Like that, the full setup was taken over. So wherever we have taken over these close to branches, premises, the branches have come up much faster. One more advantage of branch expansion during the current year is that the landlord's expectations have come down. There are a lot of commercial establishments which are closed. You are able to negotiate for a better rate. Remember, this will be for the next 10 years, right? All our agreements are for 5 plus 5 years. So when you negotiate at this point of time, when there is a distress, particularly for real estate and commercial space, you get it at a much, much competitive price. So reducing the rent, reducing the capex, reducing the employee cost helps us to break even at a much, much faster rate. So I think that strategy is working fine so far.
So like we ended this year, FY21, with a 54% kind of a cost income ratio.
The cost income ratio, you might have seen it was 67% last year. It has come to 54% during the current year.
Correct.
So
now this year, since you intend to, add branches aggressively,
our target is to bring down to 50% within a short period and 40% over a longer period. Okay, that will happen. Anyway, we will review these 100 branches. We are reviewing it on a monthly basis. We will review, and only if this branch expansion is working in the right direction, we will continue to expand. Otherwise, we may not. See, the organic growth seems to be much easier than the inorganic growth. Sorry, somebody is speaking. I'm not able to hear.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Rajendran sir, please go ahead. Yeah, please go ahead, sir.
So we are sure that we will be in a position to break even within 12 months. And if that happens in all the 100 branches, naturally these 200 branches will be put on faster mode. Otherwise, we'll slow down on the branch expansion. Okay. So our at this point of time, our thinking is, so acquiring a bank and putting them into our mode of functioning will take time, and the staff cost is killing, particularly if they are on the IBA package. The pension cost is killing. The industry as a whole, nobody has calculated the real cost of pension. The defined pension plan with the DA adjustment requires very large provision what the industry is holding today. So, taking one more bank with where 30,000 people, 40,000 people are already on pension, another 30,000 people are eligible to retire on pension. For many years, we cannot break even. So, we feel organic growth seems to be a right strategy at this point of time, which we are putting in place.
Sure. So my next question will be regarding your advancing growth. So FY21, we add roughly 3,000 crores of advances, of which roughly 2,200 or 70% that, like you mentioned, came from the gold loan. Now next year, since let's say first of all you come down as far as the LTV is concerned, and also you have aggressive plans on other secured retail assets. So what kind of impact is it going to have, first of all, on your NIM? If you can explain that. And second, sir, so you have started to grow your loan book only last few quarters till that time. So before that, you were actually consolidating. So now, so when you start to grow your advances, you need deposits as well. So and as far as the cost of, let's say, CASA is concerned, they're actually one of the lowest ones. So do you intend to offer higher rates on the deposit side to actually fund the advancing growth?
First, let us look at the advances. Not that we have not grown the other portfolio. My corporate banking as well as the SME has grown very substantially, but the growth is not visible because of our exit policy. In the SME area, we had an exit policy where we identified in the beginning of the year, these are all the accounts from which we will exit for various reasons, and we keep on existing. The SME portfolio, which was around 4,000 crores, has come down to 2,000 crores because of the exit policy. But that only protected our portfolio today. We got out of all the bad accounts. In the corporate banking, what has happened was we were having AAA rated companies on a very large scale, which were paying 9% and above, because these loans were tied up when there was a liquidity problem at that time. But subsequently, when the liquidity issue was addressed and when liquidity becomes surplus, these corporates have returned the money in a very big way. More than 1,000 crores was returned during the last year by these NBFCs and large corporates. So that money got redeployed in other assets. That is, 1,000 crores was a disbursement, but that is not visible because of the repayments which has happened. So now there are no accounts left out on the AAA category which has the option to repay. There are AAA accounts, but which do not have the option to repay. So I don't think there will be any negative growth on that account. So the normal growth, if it happens also, that should be sufficient. And we have recruited a large number of new people as a relationship managers, as underwriting officers, as a risk officers, as product managers and all. They are all settling down and they will be in a position to initiate the business. Many of them are in the field now. In spite of the COVID, we are seeing reasonable amount of flow of new proposals. So I'm sure this time also we will have a decent growth. I cannot give a forward-looking number. We will have a decent growth, subject to the constraints placed by the external environment. But gold loan may not get affected by all these things. When the LTV has brought down, it is not only for me, it is for the entire industry, it is brought down. So naturally, we must be in a position to grow. And we have good sales force, which will push the sales. We may not grow at 61%, but certainly we will have a decent growth. All along, we were growing for the past 5 years, except 1 year where we have grown 17%. All years we have grown by 24% or above in the advances. So I think our intention is to keep it at that level.
Sure. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you, sir. Next question comes from Mahesh MB from Kotak Securities. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. Just 3 questions from my side. The slide that you have on gold loans, the NPL that you have reported there is gross NPL or is it the net NPL?
It's a gross NPL.
Gross NPL, okay. And the 188 crores of slippages that you have reported for the quarter, or let's say on a Can you just give us how much of it is contributed by gold loans? Or
44
give us a breakup of deposits?
44 crores is from gold loan, remaining is from the
What would be others?
others could be SME, MSME, retail loans. Retail loans are also about 35%.
Sir, let me add,
So
sir.
sorry to
I'm
interrupt
Ganesh.
you.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir.
Yeah, Ganesh.
Ganesh here.
Mr.
Hello,
Mahesh.
resolve everything.
Yeah. So sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Mahesh.
Yeah.
Mr. Mahesh, your voice is breaking. Can you please come to a noise-free zone? There is a background noise coming from your line.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And we request you to ask your question again, sir. Your voice is not audible.
Yeah, after 188 crores, 44 crores has come from gold loans. What would the rest be?
Sir, it is mostly from SME accounts only, SME and retail portfolio. No single corporate account has become impaired during the last financial year. One construction account, that is one auditorium account, and transport account, both are the two major accounts that have become NPA. All the tickets, small ticket and one from SME account only mostly become NPA.
One clarification here, these accounts were originated last 1-2 years, or it's been a kind of a historical account?
Pardon? Please repeat.
This slippages that you saw on the SME book, were these originated in the last 2 years, or was it some historical account from the bank?
Not necessarily.
They're
They
all
all
very
longer
good
accounts
accounts.
also. Some of the accounts, many more accounts.
Sorry, I
Example,
didn't
this
get the answer.
transport operator is with us for the past 5-6 years.
Yes.
And
Okay,
he was
correct.
operating omnibuses. And omnibuses are not running at all for the past 2 years. Naturally, he could not repay. All the Volvo buses are parked in the parking lot. And he has not even renewed the insurance, which we are paying now. And you cannot sell it in this market. So naturally, that account has become an NPA. So many of these resorts-related accounts, resorts, hotels, restaurants, because Kerala is a tourism spot. So those accounts are also travel agencies. These kind of accounts are slipped, but these accounts are with us for quite a long time. These are all fully secured accounts. We have collateral securities on landed properties.
Yes.
And maybe we don't want to put so much force now. But if they revive, they will be in a position to pay. Otherwise, we have the legal course to recover this money.
Perfect. So last question. Yesterday there was a news article that Kerala government has imposed certain restrictions on recovery in the state. Is this true?
They have
that
not
last year
restricted the
also.
recovery actually. They have given some request to the bankers not to go for the recovery during this COVID-19 second wave period. That is a request. They have not made it mandatory, but this has been the request from the Kerala government almost for the past 1 year and all. They have been time and again requesting not to go for the recovery.
Okay. Thanks a lot. And is it true only in Kerala, or is it true for all states?
No, it is only in Kerala. In other places,
Only in Kerala.
governments have not issued any such.
Any guidelines they have not issued.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have a follow-up question from Mona Ketan from Dolat Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Just a few data-keeping questions. So, X of the provisions that you have included in the PCR, how much would be the additional standard asset provision?
Ganesh, sir?
Sir, now let me reply. Sir, 104
Yeah.
crores is the additional standard asset provision we have made it, in addition to
Okay,
the NPA
and-
provision.
Okay. And this includes the ones made towards SMA accounts and the restructured accounts?
Yes, of course. All the restructured account which we have provided already 5% and 25% in two categories, but on all those restructured account we have provided 25% across the board for all. And in addition to this, wherever SMA account is there, for all those SMA account we have provided 25% across the board. Right from the SMA 0, right from day 1 day default policy, we have provided 25%. That is the SMA account altogether it is counting about 280 crores.
Sure. And these are part of the 104 crore that you mentioned?
Yes, of course, correct.
Okay. And how much would be the ECLGS disbursements for us?
Pardon, please?
Disbursements under the emergency credit line scheme?
Emergency credit in SMA, that I don't have the separate data, but not any, madam. SMA, that is, there is no separate classification of the
GECL account, it is a part of GECL was given to the existing account holders. So whenever the SMA classification is there, it is a part of that only. But really not much at all. Some 3 accounts from which were given GECL has already become NPA in the month of March at all, for which we are putting in the necessary small amounts. And other than this SMA, this GECL also might have been included, but I don't have the quantification right now readily available with me.
We'll provide it. We'll provide it.
Okay. And what would be the restructured book, including those under implementation?
Restructured book overall, madam, we are having the rescheduled books up to 65 crores outstanding as on 31/3. After this, we have got the rescheduling in the previous 2 years. Flood relief rescheduling for the MSME accounts are also available to us. So that other than this, as per the Reserve Bank of India guidelines, there was a one-time rescheduling. We have got about only 25 crores, 23 accounts with an amount of 25 crores. It is including standard, substandard, doubtful, everything together. This 65 crores is MSME rescheduling. In addition, this COVID-related rescheduling, it is only personal loans. We have not given rescheduling for any of the corporate accounts. Only some personal loans around 13 accounts around an amount of around 1.33 crores we are rescheduled. It is mostly the salaried school teachers whose salary has not been received on time. They want the rescheduling. That's the deferment of the repayment has been done on those cases. Overall, altogether,
Okay.
it is only 65 crores.
65 crores, including everything. Okay.
Including
And,
everything, yes, of course.
Okay. And including what is still under implementation to be implemented by June, how much would be that amount?
So far, nothing is pending for implementation. Whatever is there, we have already done it and all. And in June, that's for the second new circular. We may be getting some application. I am not sure about this. We have not received anything so far. Then we have to calculate how much we have to go for it.
Okay. And just one last data point. So what would be the slippages for full year FY21?
This year, huh?
Yeah.
Last year.
This year or?
Yeah, the gross slippages for FY21.
FY21, we have slippage of total 181 crores, madam, totally for the financial past year.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we have a follow-up question from Mr. Susmit Patodia from MOSL. Please go ahead.
Sir, hi. Just 2 questions. One is on this gold loan limit of 40% approved by the board. Is that continues to be a hard limit? Because if majority of your 4 new branches are in the gold loan heavy area, so would you stick to that limit or that limit is flexible?
As of now, there is no need because recovery is also happening. And actually, the gold has grown negatively after the year end.
Okay.
So there is no need. And other portfolio is growing. So if there is a need, we can go back to the board and take a increase in the limit. We won't stop the business anyway.
You won't stop the business. Okay. And so next is just Mr. Sudhin Choksi coming on board. He's like the father of affordable housing industry in India. So any specific plans there on housing? And currently, how much is housing loan books, sir?
Pralay, would you like to take it?
Yes, sir. So
Hi, Pralay. How are you?
Hi, all good.
Good.
So yes, I've been in discussion with Mr. Choksi already to get his guidance on this. So we had 2 discussions. We are building our strategy around it. So housing loans, which will divide into 3 parts. One is the premium housing or housing which is done at a very attractive rate, which is difficult for us to do at this stage. B is housing for the mid sector, and third one is which you're talking about, affordable sector. So what we plan to do is for the low IRR business, we are planning to tie up with somebody. Still, the announcement is not yet out, so we are not discussing that. So we are planning to tie up with somebody for which we will do some kind of a partnership, so that we continue to offer them a good product, a marketable product,
and hence they don't have to go to another bank or another HFC for this for getting their loans. Because in that case, what happens is you lose your EMI from the savings account, and hence the primary relationship of the savings account goes away. Housing loan is very important. So to that extent, that will be a defensive strategy, which is, and also in the process, learn that business. So that's one part. The second part is we will continue to look at the affordable housing as well as the interest rates, the segments where we can afford to do business at this stage, because obviously when we do businesses, retail business at a higher yield, we cannot really compete at 7% and 6% kind of a thing. So that is something which will gradually build up that franchise over a period of time. Not right now, but we'll build it. But as we're talking, we also do home loan business. It's not that we are not doing, we do it for our customers. But not a very concentrated, separate, verticalized segments, etc. We don't do it. We do it only as a fulfillment process. The third part, which is doing for on-lending kind of businesses, that is another strategy which will build up over a period of time. And we will talk to maybe certain organizations, HFCs, etc., which will take a little bit of a time. So overall, we are building up a clear strategy on our entire home loan business, either through partnerships or through on lending or through directly doing affordable housing. All three will do.
And Pralay, how much will be the housing loan book today?
Right now, it's very small. Overall, our housing and mortgage together, there's a LAP portfolio also. The housing loan book will be very low, and incrementally we do very minimal kind of a business. So that's a very small portfolio right now.
Housing loan portfolio is 300 crores, and LAP could be about 350 crores.
300 and 350, right, sir?
So the incremental business on housing loans, we don't do much, but incremental business on the LAP, we have started doing little more aggressively. But obviously, we'll look at the credit cycle and decide. But LAP, we have started doing a little more aggressively right now.
Got it. Thank you. That's also best of luck, Pralay. Best of luck, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So next question comes from Jehan Madan from Nirmal Bang Securities. Please go ahead.
Good evening, sir. Sir, was there any one-off in the employee expense of 180 odd crores, or is this the new normal?
It's not new normal. See, we have explained earlier, 38 crores we have provided as a one-off on the pension provision. Okay. And even otherwise, the pension, when the employee retires, we buy an annuity, but that ensures he gets a pension as on the date for his remaining lifetime. But when the DA increases, CPI index goes up, we have to pay him dividend. So every time when the DA goes up, we buy a top-up annuity also. For example, if there is a 1 rupee increase in DA, my annuity cost could be 154 rupees for a recently retired employee for every 1 rupee increase. So that is one thing which is killing the banks. This was very high during the last year because the CPI index has gone up very substantially. When the wholesale price was negative, CPI inflation was around 6%. So throughout the last year, the CPI index was very high. So naturally, the DA obligation has gone up. During the current year, for the first quarter, DA has become negative, which means I need not pay any additional amount for this quarter. So if the inflation rate goes down, the additional annuity costs will go down. As far as this 38 crores is concerned, there is a change in the actuary because the previous actuary has died. When the new actuary came on board, he had a different assumptions than what the original actuary made. Every actuary has his own assumptions about the future inflation rate, the mortality rate and all. He adopted a different table for mortality, a latest updated table. So that has resulted in 38 crores additional provision. That is only one of. That is in the employee's provisions, which will reduce our future obligations. When the employee retires, when we buy, we will be in a position to buy only from the provisions without contributing additions. So there is nothing more. During the current year, the one-off will not be there, and the DA provision should be hopefully less.
Okay. So, sir, broadly, if we adjust for this one-off expense, then our ROA for the quarter would be in line with the full year at around 1 odd %. So
That's true.
for next
And also
year,
we have
so
shown in the calculation, the dotted line we have shown by removing the one-off expenses. Okay. 38 crores is here. 12 crores we have provided additional depreciation because we reduced the assumption for the life of the useful life of the assets, thereby accelerated the depreciation also, which has resulted in 12 crores as a one-off. In the future it will come down. So this 50 crores, if you add, what will be the result we are shown in by way of dotted lines in our presentation.
Right. So, sir, so broadly speaking, in line with the aggressive branch expansion strategy for next 1 year, the return on asset for the bank should be at similar levels for what it was for FY21. Is that assumption right?
Not like to give any forward-looking statement, but the new branches, as I explained, should break even in the first year. That is how the branches are built. The capex involved is very low. Okay, the furnishing cost is very low. The capex involved is very low. Salary structure is also low when compared to the existing employees. So the apex is also on the lower side. If the break even happens in the first year, I don't think that will pose much threat on the cost income ratio. You might have seen the cost income ratio, which was 103, which came to 69% or 67% last year, has already come to 54% during the current year. We will take it below 50% within a short period, and it should be below 40 over a period. That is what we are targeting.
Right. Okay, fine, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next question comes from Naveen Bothra from Sublab Research. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Good evening, sir. Congratulations for a good set of operating performance. My question is to Mr. Pralay Mandal regarding the India Stack. This account aggregator services are going to start very shortly. 4 or 5 banks are participating in it. What is our strategy? Because we want to expand our SME and MSME books. So what will be our strategy regarding this technology account aggregator and all these things?
No, I didn't get your question. What is this aggregator you're talking about?
Account aggregator that India Stack is launching. HDFC Bank, Axis, IndusInd, and Kotak is participating for UPI type services. Giving loans to SME and MSME loans. That account aggregator Stack is being launched now in India on technology platform.
Okay. No, understood. Okay. So that is no, but that we are not at this point of time. We are not in that mode right now, in that participation mode. I've understood what you're saying. So our entire payments ecosystem, as well as all this ecosystem, which we are doing some more technology, the internal technology things right now. So we are not participating in those kind of things at this point of time.
Okay. And my second question is regarding the digital, extending the digital footprint and all these things, because I myself is a digital savings account holder of CSB Bank. I think in Delhi area, I am the first one. So how we are planning to ramp it up? Because the video and all these KYC norms has been liberalized by RBI. So are we going to expand it at accelerated speed to build our deposit franchise?
Yes, of course. So we'll have a full-blown digital strategy that will get played out for us in the next few years. At this point of time, see, digital has 4 or 5 parts to it. So what you're talking about is primarily account acquisition through whether it is VKYC, whether it is digital account opening and those kind of things. So we are going to launch VKYC. We are working with a vendor right now, so we'll launch VKYC soon. But the real digital strategy will be to work on partnerships with fintechs and partnership with other players where there is large database, because we as a bank don't have a very large customer database. So one of the critical job will be over the next few years, not right now,
But in the next 2 years, to build API, build kind of a partnership model with other organizations, the way we are doing it, I just explained on the home loan side, for example, what we do on the insurance side. So similarly, we'll work with some of the other partners and give banking solutions by which we'll be able to, on the fly, onboard customers into our bank. And that can happen through any products. It can be payments, it can be liability, it can be assets, it can be fees, whichever way. And in the process, we will create a digital stack out there. So, and some of this technology is available in the cloud, available, plug and play, etc. And some of these things we're already starting to do. But coming to the first question, which is on the video KYC and some of the other stuff, which are already started working upon, and we will do that. So that goes without saying. The other digital part, which is internal, whether it is straight through process or having upfront whole bank to the customers on a mobility platform or to the dealerships or to those kind of things. So those are the kind of things which will build in the next 12 to 18 months.
In the February con call you had with some select institutions, you talked about the credit card and all these things, co-branding and all these things. If you can little explain it.
So we are working on a proposition on that payments ecosystem at this point of time. So when the time comes, we will make that announcement. But we are not building. Credit cards and those kind of businesses, as you know, is very heavy investment and very high gestation period business right now. So we are again there working on partnerships, saying that it's too early for us to get into full-fledged Vision Plus or Fast Data or those kind of instruments at this stage. So we are going to again work with fintechs as well as the other partners, but not with banks, but with other partners where we have a win-win kind of a situation. So we are at a final stage of discussions. Once we are able to sign off those things, we will make those announcements.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dear participants, if you have a question, please press star and 1 on your telephone keypad. And participants are kindly requested to restrict with 2 questions in the initial round and may join the queue for further questions. The next question comes from Sanjay Asher from Seanor Investments Private Limited. Please go ahead. So Mr. Sanjay line would drop. The next question comes from Mr. Ashutosh Mehta, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good evening. Sir, just a couple of questions on the asset quality. So in the gross NPA table, you've shown a incremental NPA of about 188 crores in this quarter. This looks like quite a granular NPA, not a single account impact. So would this something which worry you, or this is something a one-off kind of thing? And follow up on that, on the slippage ratio slide also, you've shown a slippage ratio of about 5.76% for the quarter. If you could just throw some light on this. There's a green dash bar also there, which I have not been able to understand.
See, out of the 184 crores which you are talking about, 44 crores has come from gold loan. Normally, gold loan, we don't see NPAs because even though it is a 1-year loan, normally it is closed within 4 or 5 months. This time, because of the income not being sustainable, many gold loans have got into NPAs. That is for the industry as a whole, this problem is there. Many of them are closed. Out of 44 crores, more than 10 crores is already recovered, remaining are planned for an auction during this period. So if you knock out that 44, remaining 140 crores is the NPA, out of which 30 to 40 crores might have happened in the other retail portfolios, where collections are happening, but collections are happening at a lower end, right, with a delay. So housing loans, the car loans, vehicle loans, the two-wheeler loans, small, medium enterprises loans, everywhere there are some delays because people are not having a regular income. It's an extraordinary year. So even 140 crores is only 1% of the portfolio, right? So it is not very high. And all these loans are secured loans. We are not in unsecured loan business at all. When we talk about SME, all the SME loans are secured apart from the primary security by collateral security of buildings or lands. So normally for example, the amount of NPA was much higher in December. By March, we were able to upgrade more than 30-40 crores. So out of these 145 crores, substantial amount could be upgraded during the current year or closed completely. That is possible. Some of them may not be closed. Then we have to go through the legal process and recover the money. As there are assets, the chances of recovery are always high. In our case, NPA doesn't mean an ultimate loss. In all the NPA accounts, recovery possibilities are good. During the current year, we have recovered more than 195 crores total. So it's not a small amount when compared to our portfolio of NPA. So it's only a process. So it takes time. But definitely we'll be in a position to recover because of the collateral security is available. Even otherwise, at the industry standards, the 1% of NPA is not very high. 1% of slippage is not high.
Yeah, but I think most of the slippages come in Q4 only. So that's why I
No, that is because the Supreme Court has placed an order. You cannot declare the accounts as NPA during the year. So first 6 months, the moratorium was there. Next 6 months almost, there was a restriction on declaring, which we have declared as a pro forma NPA earlier. Pro forma NPA is nothing but a NPA which could not be declared because of the court order. So if you take that into consideration, March NPA is lower than the December NPA. It's not an easy year, so naturally slippages are bound to happen. Even during the current year, you will see some slippages because the situation is pretty bad. All the businesses have undergone a difficult time. We have to understand that.
I know, sir. Great answers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That will be the last question for the day. Now I hand over the floor to Mr. Rajendran for closing comments.
Thank you. Thank you for making it on a Saturday. Normally, we would like to have it only on a working day. But having it on a Saturday has some advantages. When we have it on a working day, the board members and the audit committee members are given the agenda only on the table because the sensitivities around the data. And they are not able to interact properly. So when we have it on a Saturday, the advantage is we can hand over these results after Friday market hours. So they can go through the results and there is meaningful discussion takes place in the board. That is the intention why many of the banks have moved the results to the Saturday. This being the first year of turnaround in such a big way. And a lot of accounting policy changes were there. We are accounted for additional depreciation, additional provision, accelerated provision. So we wanted to have reasonable time for the board members to absorb the data and to discuss about it. So we organize it on a Saturday. Probably during the quarter ends following, we will try to have it on working days so that you will not be disturbed. And thank you for making it on a Saturday and making it more meaningful interaction. And if you have any further questions after seeing the presentation, in the presentation we have explained everything. If you need any further clarification, you can be in touch with us. You can call me directly or any one of our CFO, Mr. Divakar or Mr. Pralay or Mr. Ganesan on the recovery part will be available to you for a discussion. Thank you. Thank you once again. Thank you, Praveen, for the excellent arrangements.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Praveen. Thank you. So thank you. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes your conference for today. Thank you for your participation and for using Doorsabha's conference call service. You may disconnect your lines now. Thank you and have a pleasant evening.
Thank you, moderator.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes your conference for today. Thank you for your participation and for using Doorsabha's conference call service. You may disconnect your lines now. Thank you and have a pleasant evening.
Your conference is no longer being recorded.